Welcome to An Aries and Pisces Walk Into a Coffee Shop, the podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Bridget, she, her.
And I'm Tiffany, she, her. This is a podcast where two friends let go of perfectionism and talk unedited. You can find us at the links in our show notes.
Support the show by buying us a coffee. Also, subscribe and share this episode with a friend. Cheers. Welcome.
Plancha.
I don't even know where to begin now. We just were so deep in 3 different conversations at once.
I mean, we started with, did the full moon fuck you up? I think the answer is yes for both of us. And then I think that ties nicely into your attitude for the day because we're in a fire sign, which you are a fire sign.
Yeah.
And wait, what was the third thing?
We're talking about auditory processing.
Oh,
things.
sure. We were talking about the neurodivergent nonsense of auditory processing struggles. And then the very last thing was pop quiz. We're our own teachers. Hierophant energy.
Okay.
Look, I did it.
You did. Good job. Good job. Yeah, and I feel like all of those things, I don't know a lot about all of them. So I feel kind of like I'm on the edge of, or like, I've been introduced to. And perhaps would like to know more. That's all.
I mean, with the full moon, I just notice with myself that full moons tend to really take it out of me. I get very discombobulated around a full moon. I need a lot more rest. And for example, I had a really busy but fulfilling weekend with like a lot of like social rest and a lot of self-care. But then on Monday, I literally could not keep my eyes open. I took 4 naps on Monday. And then I passed out on the couch in the evening, woke up and was like, oh no, I have to go to bed. And then fell asleep in bed and slept a whole night. Can you hear that nonsense?
Yeah.
You know what? I love my neighborhood.
Sounds like a truck backing up.
It's because it is. They're just taking their sweet time. I don't even know why they backed up. They backed up to go forward. And now they're backing up.
Let me ask.
Talk about the full moon, man.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
What's better? A truck backing up, traffic sounds, or children screaming?
Oh, that's rough.
Pick the better option. Yesterday, they were having some kind of fucking pop party out there at the daycare. They're blasting like pop music and just out there just screaming and having a party. And I was like trying to record something with my windows closed. And it didn't matter which microphone I was trying to use. It still kept picking it up in the background.
Yeah, you're right. It's probably the truck is the better option because there's an expectation that it has to end.
Yeah.
Like within a relatively short amount of time, because like when the party's happening, like you don't know how long that party's going.
I thought maybe I should call them and ask.
Oh my God, that'd be so funny. So when does your party end? I'm trying to work and I need to know what the schedule.
I thought that I mean, I went through the whole thing in my head, but then I was like, I sound crazy.
I kind of wish you had done it. This whole like fuck around, find out. I wish you had fucked around and found out what happened. Like, would they just be like, oh, I'm so sorry, we don't know, good luck? Or they're like, oh yeah, like we have to herd the children back inside at this time.
Yeah.
Good luck with your recording. And to our point, truck is mostly backed up. It's on the other side of the way. And I feel like with children screaming, it's like, well,
it goes on for hours.
And it and it weaves. Like one kid screams, and then when that kid stops screaming, a different one picks up the call. Whereas like when it's one truck backing up, like it has to stop eventually or get out of my earshot if it doesn't.
Right. Right. What if they just kept backing up forever? Yeah,
Oh
they
my
wouldn't be
goodness.
around you anymore.
Yeah.
So the full moon,
Oh, right.
I found that I could not sleep.
Yeah, that
Like it
happens
was
to me
like
sometimes.
my brain was latching on to past experiences.
Yep.
And I was just like, I'm going to narrate the whole fucking thing out. Like I'm telling the story of my life at that point in
Mm-hmm.
time. And then the next thing I knew, I looked at the clock and I'm like, I've been in bed for an hour already. I'm exhausted. Just
Mm-hmm.
let me go.
Yep.
And then it was a lot of like back and forth all night for 2 nights.
Yeah, so you're describing me leading up to the full moon. I cannot sleep. I'm so hyper. I'm wired and anxious, and just things are popping off. Nightmares galore when I do sleep. And then the full moon hits, and then I crash. I'm exhausted. And then I have like 2 days of just everything's discombobulated. I have severe brain fog, can't keep my eyes open. And it happens
Oh,
every single full moon.
it's crazy.
We're so sensitive.
We are.
So yeah, you know plenty about the moon. You're describing like, and I guess for some people that's not the case, but I guess it just kind of depends. Some people get energized by the full moon, which I guess you could argue I do leading up to the full moon. That is a kind of energized. It's just not sustainable, and then I have to crash.
Do you have a night chart or a day chart? Is that a thing?
Yeah, mine's night. Like a lot of my stuff is in the bottom of my chart. And I was also born on a full moon. So I don't know if that affects, I feel like it affects my sensitivity with the moon.
Interesting. I also have a night chart, and this is part of the reason why I think that I give myself a hard time because I feel like I, in quotes, should pay more attention to the moon and lunar cycles and work with the moon and stuff. But I'm very much like daylight. I'm a sun baby. Like, give me that. Like,
Well, maybe you need the balance.
yeah.
Like I feel cozy in the dark and I like looking underneath the things, but maybe for you, it's manifesting in the opposite where you need the balance of daylight and looking outward and onward, which makes sense because you're a fire sign and cardinal. So like that does make a lot of sense for you. Whereas I'm a Pisces and we're kind of known for that nighttime, wishy-washy liminal space.
This is Luke. He stays up like hours after I go to bed, and that's his like time of day.
Our brains work better, I think,
Wow.
at night. I don't know if that's true about all Pisces, but the Pisces that I've known in my life well enough to see their cycles are all like that. We're all night owls.
I'm an afternoon owl.
Yeah, that's when I crash.
Or, well, no, I should say I'm a late morning.
Oh, okay.
I'm a late morning, like early afternoon.
Yeah, I can do that time of day. I have to have a very slow, calm morning, and then I can like start doing stuff late afternoon or late morning, early afternoon, like you. But then I crash hard in the afternoon, like later, early evening. And then I'm right back ready to party when I need to go to bed.
I just had like a sense of deja vu. I'm like, I think we've had this conversation before.
We've had party time talk.
Yeah.
Where my body says party
That's
time
it. Yeah.
around 8 or 9, and I need to be winding down to go to bed at a decent hour to get up for my day job.
Yeah, that party time is like, I'm done.
I'm so good at it. And it doesn't matter how tired I have been. Like, I will be dragging for hours on end where it's like after work and I'm like, I don't even, like, maybe I just won't feed myself today. I'm just so exhausted. And then 8 or 9 rolls around and I'm like, let's try a new recipe. Like, let's write a poem. Let's go on a walk. Like, it's party time.
Maybe that makes me think of when I try to figure out the distinction between what kind of rest I need if I'm feeling tired. Like, do I need something that is um restful in a way that is like lay down and sleep and rest, or do I need something that is going to be like rejuvenating? Like, do I need to go for a walk and then after that walk I feel like pumped up and alive again? Or do I
Right.
need to like lay down and sleep and feel rested, like in that way?
Yeah, I have a hard time discerning that at times as well. And then I have a lot of judgments attached to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's hard to navigate as well. But I've been thinking about that, what is it, introspection and figuring out what my body signals are. I have been practicing it for a while and I'm starting to get a little better about I need to eat. One, I'm still not good at catching it early enough that it's not becoming a crisis point. But before, I would be like, I don't know, I just feel sick. I'm real out of it. I can't think straight. And I'd be like, well, is this anxiety? Like, am I coming down with something? I don't know what's going on. And now, more often than not, I'm like, I need to eat something. And it's correct. I eat something and I'm like, oh, I feel instantly different.
Magic. That's really nice though, to be able to tap into that and know
Yeah.
what it is.
I'm trying to see if I keep practicing that, if I can walk it back to, I know when to eat before I get to that I can't think straight spot. Because then it's hard to feed myself when I can't think straight. Sorry, I just had a memory pop up and I was trying to decide if that was true or not. Yeah, I think it is helping because the other day I was in my kitchen and I didn't have any leftovers for lunch. So I had to like prepare something, but I didn't have a lot that was easily prepared. And I was like standing in my kitchen and I got stuck where I was just like, I can't think straight. I don't know what to do. I'm looking at the food that I have and like nothing's coming to mind of like what to do with it. And then I figured out, I was like, oh, you just really need to eat something. So just start moving. And then I figured out a whole thing. I had like a whole noodle dish that I made. And I think had I not been practicing that, I probably wouldn't have got there. Being neurodivergent's really exhausting.
Yeah. I wonder what it's like to not.
I think about that all the time. Oh, I think about that all the time.
But also, I guess, I don't know. I feel like I've just like learned so much more about myself now with like working with it
And
and
other people.
yeah, and I do kind of feel like, well, my life now, like a lot of it feels way easier than it used to,
Sure. You've done a
which
lot of
is,
work towards that.
yeah, which is great. And which I think that like just everybody has a hard time with like shit in life. And I'm learning that not everybody is willing to work on it or do something about it.
Right. That blows my mind, though.
It blows my mind too.
I think we had this conversation too, where I think I was telling you that like you did make a choice when you said that you didn't have a choice. And I was like, well, you did and you chose. Does that sound familiar?
I don't know. That maybe, but I can't like pinpoint it. I mean, it definitely sounds like a thing.
Because I've had this thought about me as well, where I'm just like, oh, well, like I didn't have a choice in this thing, but technically I did. I could have just really went down the path of self-destruction and sabotage, but I chose not to. It didn't feel like a choice, but it was because I've watched plenty of other people make the I'm just not going to take care of myself choice.
Oh, yeah. Like if maybe if I like rewind back to like when I was not doing well
Mm-hmm.
and the choice that I made that then, snowballed into all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could have continued being on a ton of drugs forever, but I decided I decided that that wasn't the path for me anymore, and then that turned into now here we are,
Yeah.
7 years later.
7 years.
I
Time is so
wait, wait,
weird.
wait. No, 2016 I came off of all of that medication. So 8, is that right? Is that math?
The pandemic really fucked us up. I wasn't good at chronological time before, and it got so much worse. Yeah, I feel like, okay, so I think that this is pretty consistent. I think that whenever I think about time, I need to add 2 or 3 years to it. So if my instinct is to say 7, I automatically need to add 2 or 3 years to make it more accurate.
Well, no, I think that's pandemic math. And for me, it's 4 years. Because if you were going to say, like, oh, Bridget, in 2017, I'm like, oh, yeah, that was 3 years ago.
Mm,
But
okay, yeah, I think
it wasn't. Oh, but you know what? I
you're
do.
right. I do need to
No,
add
I do.
4.
Maybe it's tens because I do it with age too. And
Okay.
if somebody was like, oh, they're 28, and I'm like, oh, okay, they're only 2 years younger than me
Mm-hmm.
because I'm for some reason like at 30, my brain is thinking 30 to get to 28 is 2 years, but I'm 36.
Yeah, I
So they're
forget how
not
old I am.
2 years younger. They're 8 years younger.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a
Mm-hmm.
big difference.
It really is. I've been meeting younger and younger folks in my community, and it's really tripping me out that I am elder. And you know what? It's tripping them out too, because every once in a while they'll talk about like getting old or like aging. And I was like, I really need you to just tone that down because I am elder. And then they like kind of like cock their little eyebrows at me. And they're like, how much older? I'm like, a decade. I am a decade your elder. So simmer down with the crow's feet talk.
Oh, wow. I do like, however, I've heard the term elder emo, and I really like that.
So funny that you said that because how I've leaned into the elder, well, two things. One, elder goth also
Okay.
brings me joy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the whole Baba Yaga of it all,
Mhm.
like old witch in the forest. I'm like, yeah, crone life. I can get behind crone life. So that's my way into being like, I have all the time in the world. I am an ancient crone. It's fine.
There you
Because it's not
go.
really aging. It's just this feeling of I don't have enough time and I never had enough time and I wasted time.
Mhm.
All of that stuff.
Mhm.
Well, we were talking about this, I think, last time. The idea of like, I should be somewhere else,
Mhm.
but I'm not. I'm where I'm at. And it
Mhm.
feels like I have made too many mistakes or something. I
Ooh.
I I am failure because I'm not where I thought I was going to be at this age.
I am failure. I think this is something that I'm working on unraveling right now that I
Mhm.
feel like there's a lot of unraveling with. And I have been realizing that I'm noticing these whatever negative beliefs,
Yeah.
voices in my head, like behind all actions that I'm taking. And underneath all of that is that it's like I'm doing it wrong or I'm not
Yeah.
doing it right. And that equates to then like I'm wrong, I'm bad, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing that like what none of that is true or matters because like
Mhm.
there are no wrong decisions. It's just I think like you were just saying before, just make a decision, make a choice and
Yeah.
go with it and see what happens. That's
Yep.
it. That's
Mhm.
all anything is. So that's what I'm like combating these things that are feel like fears and worries. And when I start just feeling like a ball of anxiety and I'm like, what's going on in there? And then I'm like, oh my God, like I over the way that I pour water, Bridget, come on. Like
Yeah.
there's no right way to put, or like that I could be doing this better or whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
Watering the fucking plants that I'm not doing it good enough and if there's a problem going on with it, it's because I'm bad or I made the wrong decision or I whatever and I'm like, but can't I just let this all exist and just be?
Yes, I just had this conversation with my therapist the other day about chronic pain, where I realized I was still doing the thing where somehow I have it in here deeply rooted that because I have chronic pain, I am bad. I need
Mhm.
to be doing something different to stop this from happening. And if I
Yeah.
have a pain flare, it's my fault.
Yeah.
And I only have me to blame, and I am a failure because I'm not doing enough to make it better.
Motherfucker, this is exactly it. This is exactly what I have been like working on in here. Yeah.
And when I say it out loud, I'm like, that is wild because I would never in a million years say that to somebody else. But I really believe that about me. And I'm like, no wonder I'm so exhausted.
And it's like is it like sneaky in there? Cuz
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's sneaky to the point where I I don't know it's there.
Yeah, that's what happened. My therapist had to ask, like, I think we were into 5 questions before I was like, oh, you
Yeah.
know what's happening? Is I think I'm bad because
Mhm.
I have chronic pain and I'm not doing enough to fix it. Oh, we're back here again. I didn't know this was still here. I thought we were past this.
Yeah, and it's like I don't even realize that I'm saying those things to myself.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Or yeah, so I don't realize that I'm saying it to myself and I don't realize that all of that is underneath of what I am saying to myself.
Right.
Because usually it's like, oh, I could be doing this differently or I need to do this differently or I
Mm-hmm.
and it's like underneath of that. So first you got to notice that part where I'm
Right.
telling myself that I could or should do something differently and then you have to fucking extract the shit from under there
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like hallelujah, at least I'm at this point now where I'm starting to see it and recognize it and be like, oh, I'm telling myself that. And I'm like, okay, what's under there? I'm like, that's that bullshit. We're
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're getting rid of that.
Yep. Yeah. I think the way that it's been easier for me to see it lately is because things are going like really well for me right now.
Mm. Tell me more.
You know what I mean? Um, well, like, okay, so for an example about the I don't have enough time and I'm a failure because I thought I'd be doing something or be somewhere different. I just had that run of the play that I was in. And there were multiple times with these like full cast rehearsals specifically where I'm sitting back and waiting for like my section of the rehearsal and just like watching everyone else do their part of the play. And it just struck me like to the point of like actually giggling out loud where I'm like, I'm playing pretend with my adult friends. Like we are all adults talking about dancing bears and like just macabre, weird, experimental variety art. And like we're running through this play, and then like one of the adults says, oh, what if we, and we're just playing pretend. We're just like talking about what would be funny, like wouldn't it be like dumb if we did this little like joke here? And I'm like, I'm an adult and I'm playing pretend with my friends. And then I get to like show it to people and be a part of that. And like the ripples of that. And it's based on Edward Gorey's art, which I grew up with. And one of the co-producers is like, yeah, I was like doing these collages based on the art. And I just kept on thinking, there you are, like, this is you. And I'm like, oh, I am like living my creative lineage in my adult life. I'm doing okay.
Yeah.
Like, had I told my younger self, You're going to be in an Edward Gorey play, not only in the dance ensemble, but like as like a couple of like side characters with lines. I'd be like, no, I'm not. I can't speak in public. I can't memorize a line to save my life. What are you talking about? And then I did it.
Wow.
And so, because that I think is happening for me, with me, because of me, it's easier to be like, you're doing okay. Like, yeah, you're not like where you thought you would be, but like where you landed is pretty cool.
And
We
I
wouldn't
think,
have been able to predict this.
right, that's the thing that I'm thinking of,
Mm.
like, that I think that we've been carrying with us these ideas
Sure.
of what life should look like and what we should look like and should be doing. And we had no idea how to imagine this up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like that 5 years exercise of like thinking back, what have you done over the past 5 years? And then now think, what are you going to do over the next five? It's, we have no fucking idea. There's no way to know. And, and so I think it's like separating from that, like what I think and thought that it should be versus like what it actually is and seeing the magic in what it actually is.
Right. Oh, those thought patterns are so sticky.
Yeah.
And I was thinking a lot about the podcast that I had sent you about the disability pride. And I had just gone to the disability pride parade, which like had a whole table section of organizations dealing with like disability justice and that idea of what we were talking about, where like that acceptance mental health piece, and instead of constantly just trying to find a fix. Because like, yes, we can take care of ourselves and find things that help, but like where it's at least I'll speak for me, it's like this constant exhausting drive to be like, I have to keep on seeking for the fix of what's going to cure or make this go away. And that's just not how bodies work in general, because there's always going to be something. And that is really tripping my brain out.
That's the whole practice of like finding the joy in each moment, and that like what I've been trying to practice of um how can I make this the best day that it can be, at no matter what's on my plate, right? Like no matter how I'm feeling mentally or physically or whatever it is, like I want to know that like I can enjoy my life. And I keep going back to,
Yes, I do live in a city. Can you tell?
wowie, that was loud. I wonder how much of that'll be picked up on the mics. But so I keep going back to thinking about like, what if this is my last day? Because like we have no idea when we're gonna go. I would like to think that it would be decades from now, but we don't get to choose and we don't
Right.
get to know that. And so I keep thinking like, oh my God, is this is like such a morbid like way to look at life. However, it's really keeping me in check of like, if this is my last day, then like, well, I want to enjoy the most of it that I can. And I guess if that's what I need in order to be in the present moment, in the now, then maybe that's okay. Because also that fucking voice is coming in like, Bridget, you don't need to be like thinking about it like this, or like, people are going to think you're crazy that all you're just thinking about death all the time. And like, oh God.
Hi. Here's your resident death witch, literally wearing her reminder coffin ring.
I mean, like, maybe I need that. I don't know, but it's like that is the thing that's really allowing me to anchor myself into the present.
Yes, I agree with that. I think that I've done my best living when I have been at my most contemplative about death. Yeah, that feels very true. Also, I feel like your night chart might be showing a little bit. You gotta have the
Your
balance,
night
baby.
your night chart might be showing.
Just a little peek. Yeah, I do think most people think that's really morbid, and I think a lot of people don't like to think about that, and I think that is very unbalanced. I think that if more people thought about the two sides of it, that a lot of us would be better off.
Mm-hmm. It does also feel like it puts me in a place where I'm not sure about like more willing to take action, but like
Mm,
perhaps considering actions differently.
mm, mm-hmm. Yeah, because like with that wider scope, the risk seems worth it
Mhm.
because then it gives you a perspective of like, well, what if? Like everything just feels bigger and more rewarding with the risks that are going to be taken. Oh, it's scary though. So scary.
So this is something that I think is funny.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like regarding my relationship with my mom, we're
Mm-hmm.
not like super, super, super close, and we've had a hard time for a lot of time. But it, like our relationship has definitely gotten better over time. But over the years and years and years, she'll send me things like when she sees them out and about and she thinks of me, she'll like
Mm-hmm.
send me things. And I could tell you the themes of most of what she sends me, but like a lot of it will have to do with skulls and things like that. And
So cute.
I'm not like I'm
I'm the
not a
skull.
super I'm not goth. I'm not like skulls and death. And so this for me holding on to this like concept of death so closely feels like a new thing.
Uh-huh.
However, I'm wondering, like, what has she been like tapping into something here that I couldn't see yet?
Yes, because I think that okay, I don't know your mom super well, but this is you tell me what you think about this.
Okay.
Because I think that mm, people that live up here on this like more surface level see us down here and think we're way over down even further.
Huh.
And we know how much further there is to go. And they
Okay.
don't know that. They think
Okay.
like, wow, you are like in the deep. Like you are down there with the skeletons. But
Hmm.
you and I know there's so much further that we could be excavating. Like there's dinosaurs down there. Like we could go so much further. And so then when we finally do drop into a deeper level, then we're like, oh, you thought I was down here this whole time because you're way up there.
Yeah, maybe.
Does that sound like maybe?
I think maybe. I think
Okay.
that's just maybe a good way to look at just anyone and everything in general.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
just, it's all about perspective.
Hmm.
And I've been thinking about that a lot because I think I've accidentally gotten really discombobulated where I thought someone was somewhere where they weren't.
Hmm.
And conversely, thought I was somewhere where I was not. And I was just like, because I've also thought that where I'm like, this is it. This is like the bottom layer. And then a whole other skeleton jumps out and I'm like, God damn it. I thought I had reached. the end of that. And no, not the case.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for your Death Witch era. I can't wait to talk to you more about it.
My Death Witch era.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm going to write that down.
I don't have a lot of people to talk to about this, so I'm wildly excited.
And I know, like, I distinctly remember at the end of one of these podcast conversations, we brought up like death, and I was like, yes, I want to continue this conversation with you. And then I think that it just didn't come up, or it like never like resurfaced in that way. And I'm like, oh no, I think that it's because I wasn't ready for it, maybe.
You like you saw on the horizon that it's something you wanted to go towards, but now's right time.
But now I'm in it, and I'm like, oh, here we are. Also, so I wrote down Death Witch era. Is that what you said?
That is what I said, yeah.
Am I reading that correctly? Okay. And then the other thing that I still have on my whiteboard that you said to me was the delight department. So now it says Death Witch era delight department. And if that doesn't sum me up, I guess in a nutshell, then I don't know what does. That feels really right. It feels very well rounded. Yeah.
Good balance.
Yeah. Okay, I'm into it.
Oh, that's right. You're a Libra rising.
Yes.
Yes, the scales. So the literal symbol of Libra is the scales for balance. Yeah. So yeah, this does make a lot of sense for you.
Okay. All right. I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure.
So anything else? I was gonna say like anything else death related that we can just like lightly touch on, but
just lightly touch on death. Well, I mean, I think that this is feeding really nicely into something I've talked with you a lot about, the paradox practice that I have. This is a big part of it. The idea of like, oh, I live better when I think about death. It's a paradox. You would think that it's morbid or morose or like would bring you down, gloomy. But it's always done the opposite for me. The more I think about it, I'm like, well, then isn't the miracle of a flower just incredible? Like, it just really puts things into a sharper, brighter focus that I think has made it so that I can live more intentional and do what you're talking about, like finding those like joyous moments. And it's been through this, what most people would think is like really macabre doorway of, yeah, contemplating the dark of things and finding beauty in the monstrous has been a major theme of like my life. And the death practice has been a big part of that.
I'm as we're saying this now, and I'm recalling how this summer has been so far for me, with my wildlife things outside. This is also because there's been a lot of death around me this summer that I really wasn't expecting, and has been shocking, and has been like things that I've had to work around and face. And I don't know. It's got me thinking, and I'm very interested to see how this unfolds. And I think that the really interesting piece to me right now, right here in this moment, is like, for example, like seeing a dead bird, and I'm like, I can't handle that. I'm like, I just like absolutely can't handle it. And then like the following day, I see my aunt on Instagram holding a dead bird, and saying the sweetest things about like life and about this creature, and she's just got the sweetest heart that I know. And I've seen her interact with animals just over so many years in this way. And then I'm thinking of my experience here, and then thinking of like that, seeing her in that experience and being like, what a wildly different, like, I don't know. Like, I think I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, handling it wise or experiencing it.
Well, it's new. Anything new is going to feel unwieldy. But I love that you had that synchronicity of,
Mhm.
I don't know what to do with this, and then seeing how someone else does
Yeah.
something with it that does
Yeah.
align with how you think.
Mhm.
I think that's really beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, and in processing through it, like, I think that I handled myself and the process of it as best as I could. I let myself cry a lot.
Yeah.
I did Reiki. I mean, I talked to the bird, the spirit, whatever, deck, my whole space. And luckily, like, Luke handled it for me. But I, like, when he, like, came back in, I said, like, did you say a word? Like, and he was like, yeah. And I'm like,
Mm.
this is like, I, I think that, um, being able to also be in a partnership where I'm
Mm.
like, hey, this thing has happened. And he's like, okay, I understand that I have to take care of that because you're not capable of it. And then for me to just be like, oh, did you say something? Like, did you honor this life? And for him to just be like, yes, like, he's not questioning that I'm like asking that kind of a question, or like, and he's
Mhm.
also like, on that same kind of like wavelength.
Mhm.
What a wild thing to like feel connection through that. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, death connects. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.